Today, I catch up with one of my old buddies from HubSpot, Chris Alexis. And he used to work with partner companies back in the day, but now he works with scaling companies to help them adopt HubSpot and understand how it can benefit their organization. So that's going to be most of our focus today. You'll also learn about how HubSpot has embraced AI in new ways most recently. We'll talk about inbound and what to expect at that event, which is coming up in September. And you'll understand how to compare and contrast HubSpot to other similar platforms on the market. Let's do this.
Welcome to Content Marketing Engineered, your source for building trust and generating demand with technical content. Here is your host, Wendy Covey.
Hi, and welcome to Content Marketing Engineered. On each episode, I'll break down an industry trend, challenge, or best practice in reaching technical audiences. You'll meet colleagues, friends, and clients of mine who will stop by to share their stories. And I hope that you leave each episode feeling inspired and ready to take action. Before we jump in, I'd like to give a brief shout out to my agency, True Marketing. True is a full-service agency located in beautiful Austin, Texas, serving highly technical companies. For more information, visit truemarketing.com. And now on with our podcast. Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Content Marketing Engineered. I'm joined today by Chris Alexis. He is a sales manager at HubSpot and has been in the sales organization for a really long time. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Andy, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Okay, so how long have you been at HubSpot now?
So I am on year 14. I will be in September will be 15 years with the HubSpot Orange. So definitely been a really fun ride for me, and obviously got to meet some incredible people like you along the way.
Yeah, and I want to say you and I go back more than a decade.
Easily, yeah.
Yeah, so we together have seen some change over in the halls of HubSpot. That's for darn sure.
Without a doubt. It's as a scaling company, if you're not changing and adopting, you're probably sinking. So I think it's a good thing, but it's a lot of change, a lot to keep up with for sure.
Yeah, and you still have a smile on your face and happy to be wearing that orange. So I love that. I think that's maybe a good place to start because some people are newly aware of HubSpot, let's say in the past, 3 years or 5 years. They don't have the long history that you do with the company and that True Marketing does. I think we've been a partner for going on 13 years. So maybe you could walk me through a short history of HubSpot and how the platform has evolved over time.
Yeah, I think that's a great starting point. So back in 2005, 2006, when the company was founded by Brian Halligan, Dharmesh Shah, over at the Sloan Business School at MIT, inbound marketing was kind of the strategy and theory that we were coming up with from a tool perspective. And what happened was I started back in 2008. Really, in 2010, the founders wrote a book about inbound marketing, of course, and that really helped things take off, I think, from a branding perspective. In 2013, we launched our first global office in Ireland. So that was our first step outside of the US into the global office space. 2014, we went public. So we turned the company public back in 2014. And really, this entire time was really a marketing engine that we were building and the marketing tools that we were coming to market with. In 2015, we hit 15,000 customers. I remember that because we dropped 15,000 ping pong balls off the top of our office, which is cool. And that's really when we were starting to get into some of the other hubs, right? So the sales hub came out. We then got into the service hub, the operations hub, marketing and CMS have kind of been there all along. And what's happened over the years is as we've kind of kept scaling and growing, one of the other big things that we're proud of is we rolled out the culture code in 2018. Dharmesh wrote that, and a lot of companies adopted that, how to have a great culture within the organization. So helping companies not just from a software perspective, but from a strategy perspective as well as we scaled. And kind of fast forwarding, to now we're at about 7,000 employees, which is just bananas to think of how many employees we actually have. We have 11 global offices. Wendy, I think we're hitting almost 180,000 customers. So to go from 15,000 in 2015 to almost, getting creeping up to 200,000 has been a huge lift. And what I've seen is a lot of scaling companies are the ones who are adopting the system, right? The companies that are growing, the companies that want a system to grow with, they seem to be the ones that are jumping on board the train and seeing the best results and ROI along the way. So it's been, as a background, that's kind of how HubSpot has scaled and grown. We do offer an inbound conference every year. I think in 2021 was our peak. We had 70,000 attendees to that. So a lot of cool growth that we've seen over the history of HubSpot and my history here as well. So hopefully that gives some good background, and it would be a lot to dig into there for sure.
That's great. And we'll get to inbound. Definitely. I want to talk more on that, but I'd like to go back to the types of companies that are using HubSpot and maybe how that's changed. Because when I think back to when we first became partners, it started with us using HubSpot for ourselves, as an agency to just understand the tool, and then very quickly saw the ROI. But it seemed at the time that, this is really well suited for smaller companies, maybe getting into the mid-side. And then, when you get, to scaling size where you're adding a sales force, you have a bunch of people, on board, things didn't go as well. And I think that's really changed over time, and HubSpot's added a lot of sophistication to the tools. So maybe we just talk about when you're a small company and you're using Excel as your CRM and maybe MailChimp or Constant Contact or one of those for emails and maybe some other tools too, how do the needs that are solved by HubSpot back then are very different than what a scaling company needs. So I kind of wanted to focus in on the differences and how HubSpot has addressed that.
Yeah, definitely. I think to your point, Wendy, we certainly have changed. If we went back, 10 years, it was, we weren't quite there from the large organization standpoint. We have obviously scaled our product and obviously scaled who we're going after. And I think, a couple of the big things that scaling companies are looking at when they're growing, when they're kind of when they're trying to get to the next level, the biggest things from a tool perspective, I look at two things. One, product adoption, right? You need to have a system in place that your company, your current employees are engaging with and they're using in an effective manner. But also when you think about your growth, right? We need to be able to think about, I'm training and bringing on net new people. Well, how easy is it can be for them to adopt that platform? How easy is it going to be for them to use that? A lot of that is solved from HubSpot from a few things. One, we have a lot of free certifications. So there's, I think, 500,000 people have been certified by HubSpot. That means there's a lot of people who know how to use the system. They know the verbiage, and that really helps say there's a pool of talent out there with experience using the tool. But the other thing, Wendy, that's I think maybe a little bit more important is the productivity, right? So when you think about I'm scaling, I need to have a tool that's going to help with my productivity. For example, on the sales side, it might be something like, well, I needed reps to be able to do the right activities at the right time, right? I want to make sure they're calling the right people and using the right messaging. Well, that's someone being productive. How do we automate that with some lead intelligence, with some playbooks, with some guidance along the way? The other thing that I think is really important for scaling companies to think about are the connections, and that connections is kind of twofold. One is every business is going to need some type of connection to another system. Maybe it's your back-end QuickBooks system. Maybe it's another ERP. But we need to think about, are there APIs and integrations where you're coming into a tool set that you can connect to as you scale, right? Some systems are kind of closed off, and then you're limited. You're stuck, right? Kind of with them versus a system that's open. And the other thing and the connections really, and probably coming back to your organization, is you need to have the guidance. You need that connection to say, how do I connect the business goal that I'm trying to accomplish back to my efforts in marketing and sales, right? So being able to say, I need someone to be my Sherpa to guide me through that process is a really big win. I've seen scaling companies that work with an agency to help with that guidance, to help with some of the services. That's just saved so much time and helps see the total cost of ownership go down because we're seeing the results quicker, right? So
that makes
being able to
sense.
get there quicker. So those are, I think, the biggest things that I look at for scaling companies. And I'm sure there's some stuff on your end where you work with other, the support side or maybe other aspects of that as well.
Yeah. Well, this, when you were walking me through that, it made me think of one of our clients who was, when we first started engaging with them, they were a startup, but they had, previous experience with HubSpots. They wanted us to come in, get them onto HubSpot, get them set up, kind of the basic stuff, right? They're startup, they're nimble. And this company is growing by leaps and bounds. They're absolutely in scale up mode now. They're not in startup mode. And it's been cool to watch how HubSpot's been able to just scale with them and how they utilize the tool differently than they did back then, obviously, because now they have, more salespeople, more sophistication, more marketing campaigns running simultaneously, rebrands, you name it. We've done it with them. And it's been great to watch that tool selection back then be able to just grow with the company. And, not a lot of tools can do that. So that's made us such a fan too, because it's easy for us to help companies start from where they are and then grow from there. So,
and I think you has to be like, you've seen this movie too. So when these companies hit these different points of scale, it's like, well, what's the next step? We need to flex a little bit differently than we did as a small business. So being able to have the tools, but also being able to have that strategy from your team to help them. And those are some of the big wins I've seen where people, you can feel people go try to figure it out and spin their wheels, or they could just say, let's just do it the right way from the get-go and again, grow together. So I think that's where I've seen the most success for companies looking to increase some ROI.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because even in the details, like, oh, well, we're a brand new brand, awareness is important. We want to measure these things. And then later on, we're in scale up mode. We need to work more efficiently and we care more about, leads or, channel activity or whatever it is. And so even down to what's measured, what's on that dashboard can change, but it's still HubSpot underneath the hood, right? Yeah.
Well, and like you said, I mean, there could be a point too when you're scaling, you say, hey, I want to raise more funding, or I want to sell my company. And like, if you don't have those metrics and that data to show that growth and that scale, it's really hard to do that. Right. So being able to have that in your back pocket is helpful as well. If you're taking your company in that direction as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. You mentioned that we had another client that was acquired by another company. It was kind of like a merger / acquisition. It was kind of one of those, but one of the selling points was, wow, look at your marketing program, look at these established marketing systems and operations that you have and processes. And so the acquirer adopted those things when, the company folded in. And that was a really neat win. We were very proud of that we were able to help them, get a better valuation, essentially.
Well, it's also a great story for a marketer to tell. Like, here's what I've done. Here's what I've helped scale. Here's how I've helped the company get to where we're at. So whether you're a business owner, or head of sales, or a marketing leader, I mean, like, these are all things that we have the data to back up. And I think that's a great way to grow your career at a personal level as well.
Yeah. Well, we would be remiss if we didn't talk a bit about AI. So obviously, it's so fun. I was listening to this financial podcast the other day, and they were challenging each other. I think it was Barron's or something, to find a public company that didn't mention AI in their earnings, and they couldn't. And they were coming up with like Campbell's Soup and somebody that makes, I don't know, feed for animals, and it was everywhere. Like, you just couldn't. Right. So everybody's using AI in some respects. And HubSpot has always used some AI features, but lately y'all have been leaning way in, so to speak. So tell me about some of the newer AI powered stuff that we should know about.
Definitely. I'll tell you about that. And I will say too, I would expect more to be coming, right? So I do agree that there's a lot of buzzy AI things, but then there's like actionable AI, and I think that's where we want to live, is that actionable place. So I'll kind of cover a few of the bigger ones that we started off with. And again, I expect some more stuff to pop up down the road. But the first one I'll touch on is the content assistant. So when you think about, content obviously is a key of driving leads, visitors to the website, right, and converting them. So it's a very time consuming and labor intensive, financial intensive thing to do, right? It takes time and money to create great content. Well, now with AI and the content assistant, we can help with that. So it could do things like help you create ideas for blog posts, help you actually create a paragraph. I describe my 401k and it creates a paragraph about the 401k. Or I want to write a marketing email promoting 10% off if you buy this month, right? And so having the ability for the system to create the guts of that, roll that out, send it off, maybe you tweak it, maybe you don't, but having the ability to use the system to save that time. That's where we're talking about more effectiveness, more efficiency. Now my team can, instead of 3 emails, can do that 4th email in that week because they have the extra time. So one of the big ones I think and you can see this is for HubSpot users. This is in a private beta right now, but you can access this part of the system as well, which is really cool. The other one, Wendy, I think that I'm excited about, it's in public alpha now, but more is coming out as we grow, is ChatSpot. So essentially, ChatSpot is like a conversational CRM that will take sales, marketing, service. You can connect it to the HubSpot system, and actually like do a bunch of stuff with this. So I can say, hey, draft a follow-up email to John Doe. I just had a meeting with them. Boom, it drafts a follow-up email. Or I could say, hey, how many contacts were in my name? Or how many reps hit quota last month? Or how many deals do I have at this stage? And actually we'll go through, dig up the information and create a report for you.
That is so exciting. We've been playing with this and we're thrilled because you could just, you don't have to think about the parameters and program it in. You just come up with your question and then refine from there. It's really cool.
It's so cool. And like you said, it's like all those things you might say, hey, I have this idea, but now I have to go figure out how to make the report. I have to go like that 20 minutes, reading the knowledge article, creating the report, it's gone, right? It's just, there's your report waiting for you. So I think that I talked about earlier, efficiency, effectiveness, like scaling companies, like this is another great example of using AI to help with your team's time and save them time and create some new ideas, right? So I think that at the end of the day, I'm glad to hear you've been in there. I'm not surprised you've been in there playing around, getting your hands dirty with some of the new stuff. And
heck yeah.
It's great though, because I think, it shows you have to be progressive. You have to come up with new features, but and similar to you, like you want to be the first line of learning it. You want to be the first one in there, getting your hands dirty with it. So those type of motions are really, I think, what are going to get people to see the most success with this. You can wait and let other people kind of figure out how AI is going to work for your business, or you kind of jump in and try to use it and be that be at the kind of forefront of AI. And I think that's where we're at today.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so the chat spot is the name of that. Okay. And then the other one, the generative AI assistant, what is there a name for that, or is it just a feature
that was just content assistant, because that applies across. So you'll see that pop up as you're drafting a blog post or inside the email. So if you have this turned on in HubSpot, that will start to activate, but the content assistant is really geared to help with some of that content I mentioned at the beginning.
Got it. And as far as an SEO assist or lift, what is in HubSpot today? And I know you can't talk about what might be coming or whatever, but if for someone today who's debating, okay, I need more insight into SEO, how do you use HubSpot?
Yeah, there's some new stuff that's rolling up, but for today, there's really 2 parts of SEO. One, there's your on-page SEO. So the tool will actually crawl through your entire website and on a page-by-page level, point out any errors that you have. So part of it is just making sure your site's structured correctly for Google and the search engines. And that's tied into the system. It'll also look at internal links, make sure you don't have any broken links and things like that across the website. So more of the guts of the site. The other part, and I think this is more where strategy comes into play, is our topic cluster tool. So when you think about, coming up with terms to go after, it's not about one phrase, it's about owning the whole series of topics or phrases tied to that topic, right? So if because Google understands the context of your search, if I search for organic cleaning supplies, I also get results for natural cleaning supplies and green cleaning supplies. Google knows they all mean the same thing. So what we have is a tool that's geared to help you come up with not just that main topic that you know you're going after, but also all those subtopics that might be related to the main topic. You would typically create a piece of blog content around that subtopic and then hyperlink it back to the main topic. So all those tools are built in. And what happens is the blog actually talks to the SEO tools and says, hey, is this blog post for this topic? Link them together, right? Have you hyperlinked them? Yes, put the hyperlink in there. And it really makes it a full-blown kind of SEO process where you're coming up with the ideas, you're making sure your site's structured correctly, creating the content. You can use the AI stuff to help with the content if you need it, and then promoting that out, through social media. So that blog piece tied into SEO really is how our customers see a lot of success. And I know that this is another area that you've seen your customers succeed on. From an SEO perspective to drive more traffic to the site.
Absolutely. Huge believers in this methodology to create content strategy. I mean, period. So, and if someone is listening and they're not on HubSpot, you can manually do this. Imagine in your mind, like, a mind map, that brainstorming tool. You have a central theme and then all these topics that you can write about. But the advantage of doing this inside of a tool is it crawls your site and says, here's how much coverage you already have, and then here are your weak spots. And so for like our own agency, we do that. We have topic clusters around some of our key service areas, say like brand positioning and messaging. And you can see, we can watch our progress as we start to fill out gaps within this topic cluster. So powerful tool, easy to understand and to refer back to, and kind of it's that power of, taking something that could be offline that you can use, but putting the knowledge of, inside technology and crawling your site and all that. So
yeah, and the other nice part too is like it's so hard to track the results of your SEO efforts, right? Because Google doesn't report on organic search terms that they haven't for years. So when you use the topic cluster tool, you can say, hey, I'm not sure the exact keyword they came from, but I know it's one of these that are tied into this topic. So now I can put a little bit of ROI and say, how many leads did I get? How many customers did I get tied into that overall topic cluster? So I think if you take it from SEO to our end goal of getting customers, we can actually put some reporting in place to figure out where to double down as well.
Yeah, which is huge. Speaking of, people who aren't on a HubSpot, I think it's always helpful, and this isn't big ad for HubSpot, but it kind of is. We're both fans, and we're not shy about that. But a lot of times I'll get questions about, okay, why HubSpot versus, Pardot, or now I guess they're Marketing Cloud or Marketo. So I know how to answer that, but I would love to hear how you answer that when people ask, what are some of the key differences? Why does someone use one versus the other?
I think I'll start with kind of like how the systems were built. So a lot of the other systems have gone out and purchased other companies and try to plug them into their ecosystem, right? So a bit of a cobbled approach, right? I take this tool, and try to merge them together. HubSpot has built everything natively. So we have a crafted approach. We purposely build things for the future. So I think when you'll see that in two places. One, the UI and the user friendliness of HubSpot. If you talk to users of a Marketo or a Pardot or Marketing Cloud, the UI, just the simplicity to create a landing page, to get that marketing email at the door, to create your workflows, a much more user-friendly platform, which what that does is, again, back to effectiveness. I now have more time in my day because it didn't take me 4 hours to create that email. It took me 2 hours to create the whole campaign. So that's one of the big differences. It's just how the system was built and the user-friendliness behind it. The other one, Wendy, is, and we talked about this earlier, is like that all-in-one approach, right? Like, for example, Marketo is not going to help you with your SEO, right? So having one tool to manage all your marketing efforts. Some of these tools have 75% of what HubSpot is, but they're not going to be the whole thing. And you're still going to be required to go get other platforms to kind of make that together. So beyond that, look at our partner ecosystem. I mean, we have partners like yourself. We have people that are living and breathing in HubSpot. They're doing that by choice, right? No one's forcing them to do that. It's because it is a great tool, and companies have built their businesses around getting people onboarded and trained using the system. So there's a lot of resources and support. I guess that's the big point I'm trying to make. It's not like I have to go find someone to help me with HubSpot. Like there's people that know HubSpot, right? So having someone who's an expert in there is another big win of the system. I can go feature by feature, but I think at a high level, right, just having that all-in-one tool, having those top of the funnel tools to drive people to the website, not just an automation tool like the other ones, those are some of the bigger wins. But again, as a user and talking to users, user friendliness, support, those are probably the biggest wins that you'll see with using, the HubSpot platform.
Yeah, they are. And, even to the effect, we've had these conversations over the years. Should we be tool agnostic to some degree? When are we willing to play within someone's, Pardot account or click dimensions or whatever it is? And we get so frustrated, our HubSpot specialists, when they get into these other systems, not to name more names, but as they're just so clunky, difficult to use, like, oh my gosh, this is so inefficient compared to how this is done in HubSpot. So above everything else, it kind of goes back to that user friendliness and efficiency. And then, just more functions built within the platform. So you hit on all of the things that I would hit on, but, and I always encourage people yes, take our word for it, but also go do demos of these other, platforms, and you'll experience it yourself. And then you make your own decision, and we can just guide, but that usually helps too.
Definitely see a demo, definitely see tools in place, actually being used, because I think there's a lot there. But like, to tie it back together, Wendy, like you said, I'm a scaling company. I need to be effective. I need to be efficient. I need to have resources. I need to have a map to follow, and that's got HubSpot written all over it, compared to some of the other tools that are out there.
Yeah. So if someone's listening and they're like, okay, like it's time, I should pull the trigger on HubSpot or any marketing technology, really, how do you recommend they get started? It's a pretty big undertaking.
It is. And so what I would do is my recommendation is always kind of like 2 or 3 things. One, go to like a agnostic platform like G2 Crowd, right? A G2 Crowd is a great place to go and say, what's the top market automation tool? What's the top CRM? Because what that's doing is it's looking at reviews from actual users, your actual peers, and saying, here's what, 2,000 other users say about this platform. So look at some of that. Obviously, talk to your peers on LinkedIn and through your networks to see what they're using. If it's a bit more of an undertaking, what I'd recommend people do is kind of reverse engineer their needs. So what I mean by that is create like a light RFP saying, hey, I want my marketing tool to be able to do X, Y, and Z. And I need this for reporting. I need this for, for my social media, and then be able to take that to those companies and say, like, can you solve this or not? So being able to know what good looks like for you and starting there, that would be really helpful. I would definitely recommend hiring a professional to help with this evaluation and also help with the implementation. So being able to work with someone like your organization and say, hey, this is what we're trying to accomplish. Let's work backwards and say, what's the right tool for this? And how are we going to connect, how we can get to that end goal. So when you think about the total cost of ownership of any tool you're going to implement, it's not just like the software fee. It's what's it going to cost to onboard it? What's it going to cost to maintain it? What's this going to cost me 6 months later when I have a new hire that I need to train on how to use it? So those are all things you want to consider when you look at that overall total cost of ownership. It's not just like the monthly fee, right? It's about like what's it really going to take to get this running. And I think that's another thing that you really want to dive into. Like, how long does it typically take to implement? What do those costs look like? The quicker we can implement, the quicker we're going to be with seeing our ROI.
Yeah, that's great. Really helpful advice. I would add to it, there are definitely things you can do to prepare internally as well, like clean up your CRM. If whatever you're in today, if you have duplicates or people that have been inactive for, say, 3 years or more, get rid of them, right? Because you're paying for those contacts. And so do some cleanup before you walk into any technology. Think about those features, maybe stack rank what's really important to you, what's not. Those are just great ways to prep. And then, of course, thinking through the sales component. So if you're bringing on the sales portion, making sure you have documented things like, what is a SQL? What is an MQL? What are our lead stages? And those are very strategic questions. So a partner like us can come in and help and facilitate those conversations and offer advice, or sometimes companies, go through some of the HubSpot training, or they just internally work through some of that before actually, starting that subscription, day one.
Wendy, I think that's a great call. I think that's also why it's great talking to you and having your perspective on here, because those are things that I probably wouldn't think through, but you need to have that in place. Otherwise, like you said, we're just kind of staring at a system for a month. So getting all that kind of prep work, how do you prepare? You can probably write a checklist, white paper, 10 things you need to know before buying that technology. And those are all great examples that you listed off.
Yeah. And even I know for smaller companies, they'll be like, okay, well, let's get on HubSpot. And we're like, okay, but you don't have any content. You need some content. Yep. You don't just put start up with HubSpot and leads just flow in. Like, you need some content and some things that would be good, that are gated, and we can't do lead scoring until the criteria of what is your target personas. So there's a lot of strategy work that it's kind of like with a website redesign, right? You don't just start with like, let's blow up the website and redo it. There's a lot of strategy ahead of that, and what is the user experience and all of that. So, well,
I think that you said it best, like the user experience, the buyer's journey, that's the big thing. And then we have some great new buyer journey analytics that we offer, but where is that person in the journey? Are we displaying the right content to them at the right time? And that's, again, back to like a scaling company, is that to be automated. We don't have to wait for someone to manually look and say, oh, this person should get this. We want that to be automated. They see it on the website. They get the email talking about that topic. That is how you're effective. And that's like the system you want to put in place to grow your business and grow those leads.
Yeah, great. Well, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about inbound, one of my favorite events of the year. What should we expect this year? What, guest speakers? Is it going to be big, small, hybrid? What are we looking at?
Yeah, so it's September 5th or 8th. It'll be at the Convention Center in Boston. They have started to announce some of the bigger name speakers. So Reese Witherspoon, Derek Jeter, those are two bigger kind of well-known names. There's some other industry-specific experts as well. And you'll see a lot more coming up. But I think, one of the nice things that they're doing this year is they're creating multiple tracks for people. So those tracks span from like, here's a track for marketing, here's a track for sales, service, C-level executives. We talked about AI. Here's an AI track. It's just about AI, right? Every session you go to has AI built into it. Or maybe you're in the RevOps, part of the business. You're trying to grow that. So RevOps. So I think one of the nice things is having specific tracks for people to go down that resonate with them and their part of the business that they're in charge of. That way, if you're going with a team of people, everyone kind of has their sessions that speak to them. One of the big, I think, messages you'll hear beyond some new features and tools rolling out, which we typically always do, is focusing more on like customer connection, right? That's going to be a big theme you'll hear. So being able to say, we all crave connection. So is it, how do I connect better with my customer? How do I connect, like we said earlier, my business plan to the actual execution of marketing? How do I connect e-commerce, right? So like all these things, we're going to say, how do we make you more of a connected business in a world that's very disconnected, as we're all virtual, like not all, but a lot of people are virtual. So that connectivity, there's going to be a theme around that. And you'll see a lot of cool sessions around those topics, but it's always a great event. There's always, we always wait till a little closer to announce more big name speakers and some of the entertainment stuff. But if people can make it, definitely would recommend coming to the event.
Yeah. So what is it? Inbound.com, HubSpot /
Yes.
inbound?
Oh, sorry. I should clarify.
Okay.
Inbound.com is the website. So just go to inbound.com. You'll see all the details there. You can register there. There is, I think some of it will be streamed. So if you can't make it, you'll have some streaming options, but it is always a really good networking event as well. So it's a great time to talk to other people in a different industry that do the same thing as you, right? Just sitting there, you're not competing with them and sharing best practices, sharing what's working. There's a really good networking experience that you'll see here beyond the learning part of it.
Yeah. Well, we'll be there. So, reach out if you want to hook up with True Marketing. There'll be several of us in attendance. So can't wait. And Chris, this has been so fun just catching up with you and how HubSpot has been evolving. How can listeners just learn more and get in touch with you?
Yeah, it's my email is C Alexis, so kind of like you're seeing on the screen here. So CALEXIS at HubSpot.com. So feel free to send me an email. As I manage a team, it'll be me, so my team or a coworker that I can connect you with. But I love catching up with you. I love True Marketing and everything that you all do and bring to HubSpot. So some of that guidance, some of that leadership is invaluable that you bring. So would love to connect with people at Inbound, or if someone wants to learn more about HubSpot, I'm happy to assist myself or direct to the appropriate colleague if that makes the most sense.
All right. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Wendy. Talk to you later.
Thanks for joining me today on Content Marketing Engineered. For show notes, including links to resources, visit truemarketing.com/podcast. While there, you can subscribe to our blog and our newsletter and order a copy of my book, Content Marketing Engineered. Also, I would love your reviews on this podcast. So please, when you get a chance, subscribe and leave me your review on your favorite podcast subscription platform. Thanks and have a great day.